Yes, it is another mashup of two Locked On hosts. Hey, it's Matt Sheehan of Locked On Spartans, and over here we got Trent Condon of Locked On Hawkeyes. But before going any further about today's big game, this episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more. Visit FanDuel.com/Locked On today to get started. Trent, how on earth are we doing? Not just personally. We obviously care about that. Hope you're having a good day. But just as a Hawkeye fan, how are you doing so far with this season so far?
It's been such an interesting run throughout the course of this year. They got off to a nice start at the beginning of the year. Now they're playing tomato cans, and this is what they do. But one thing in the McCaffrey era, and the reason that year after year, a lot of people wonder, why are they so good in the net every single year? Why does Ken
Mm-hmm.
Palm, those efficiency numbers? Because they take on these awful teams, but they not just beat them, they club them. They beat them
Okay.
by 30, 40, 50 points. And though, yes, point of margin in the net is capped at 10, the efficiency numbers are not capped. And that's why you see year after year, their numbers be so good. So they got off to a good start, played in their exempt tournament. They went down to Florida, took on Clemson, beat them. Clemson came back in the second half, made it tight. Iowa ultimately won that game. And at the time, we thought Clemson stunk. It's like, oh boy.
Sure.
Then they get their doors beaten in by TCU. And it was a lot of the question marks that started to crop up. Got on the right foot, started to feel better. They beat Iowa State at home by 20. They shoot lights out, feeling good. And then they have maybe the most inexplicable loss of anybody in the Big Ten as they fell at home to Eastern Illinois, a team ranked in the 350s at Ken Pomeroy. It'll be a quad 4 loss. It's an anchor on the resume overall. They
Yeah.
lose that one, start 0-3 in the Big Ten, and it's a lost season. And then they rip off 4 in a row, and we're right
Right.
back to where we are. So it's been a very much an up and down type of season for Iowa. A lot of inconsistencies. They've had injuries that they've dealt with. So it's been very difficult to just get a
Mhm.
read on this team, what exactly they are. Are they the team that maybe can finally break that down that door and get to a Sweet 16? A lot of people have had those thoughts at different points of the year. Or
Okay.
is this a team that's going to be on the outside looking in just for the NCAA tournament? And as we sit here today, that's kind of where we are with this Iowa team. We're just trying to still figure it out in late January.
So is it safe to say that Thursday's game is kind of the litmus test, or do you still want to see a little bit larger of a sample size, even beyond this nice run that you guys are on right now, to really get confident that, okay, maybe, things are in a good place with this program?
So the losing streak comes to an end over the weekend to Ohio State. Didn't play well defensively, and that's been something that's always been kind of a part of Iowa basketball under
Sure.
McCaffrey. Really
Yeah.
good offensively, struggle a lot of times defensively, and a lot of those bad defensive things started to pop up on Saturday. Now you go on the road again to Michigan State. It's been a house of horrors. We
Yeah.
had the 30-year anniversary of the passing of Chris Street. I'm sure some older Sparty fans will remember that game. Iowa's first game after his passing was at Michigan State.
Gotcha.
Breslin Center was just a couple of years old, went in there down 14 with under 4 to play, and Iowa comes back and gets the victory in a hugely emotional one. Iowa hadn't won another game until just 2 years ago at the Breslin Center. And there's been
Wow.
some good Iowa teams that have come in there and
Yeah.
not just lost, but got obliterated, just absolutely run off the floor. So you couple with getting that first loss to Ohio State in a while, coupled with now going to Michigan State, I think it's a tense time. It's a tense time for Iowa, knowing this is not one when you're kind of W&L and things and looking at, hey, what do we need to do to be at least a tournament team? This is not one that many people are putting in the win column. How about you
Gotcha.
guys over there at Michigan State? Give us kind of the Hawkeye
Yeah.
fans a little overview where you guys are.
You know what? I'm going to say the same thing that 10 other teams in the Big Ten are saying, and we're doing fine. It's okay. It's solid. Things are fine. But no, I mean, what is really the thorn in our side is two things. The first is injuries. Look, Malik Hall has been in and out. Right now, he is out with a foot injury. It was, after he hurt his foot again against Illinois a few weeks ago, that okay, well, he's done for the season. Like, this is it. They might even amputate the foot, for crying out loud. Like, it was not looking good. And then days go past, and well, here we are sitting here recording Wednesday afternoon, and it looks like that he could play a little bit. I'm sure it'll be a game time decision, just like there's a player in your team that has a game time decision that we'll get to in a little bit. But he is very important to this team because it is night and day what this team can do with and without him. And not even just from a skill perspective, obviously, good post game. He's got a solid shot, but just what he means leadership wise to this team. Also, early in the year, he missed 8 games. Jaden Akins missed some. But when those guys are fine and Michigan State is at full strength, they can compete with any team that they play. I mean, we just saw that not too long ago against Purdue, lost in last possession. But yeah, at the end of the day, though, you are what your record is. And right now, that's just every other record in the Big Ten. a team with 3 or 4 losses so far in conference play, unless you're Minnesota or Purdue for the right reasons. So yeah, we're fine, Trent. We're fine. Yeah.
Everybody just sitting in the middle between number 2
Yeah.
and number 12 in the league, and that's what it is. And it'll be fun to see what we have tomorrow night. What's the environment going to be? We think of the zone, we think of the
Yeah.
loudness of it, and what's the environment been like both this year and what do you anticipate for the game tomorrow night?
I think it's been awesome. I mean, we'll never get back to the Izzone of the mid 2000s, but there's that little downswing. It kind of
Yeah.
maybe when I was a student there, 2010, 2014, where all of the old heads are being like, "Oh, you guys have gotten soft." But I really think it's been good lately in the Izzone, and maybe that has something to do with that COVID year and even the year after, where masks are mandated inside of Breslin Center. And this is the first year back where it's like, yeah, the energy has returned fully. Let's just take the lid off this thing. It's like shaking up a soda bottle for, 2 years and then just unloading the cap. I really think there has been a lot of energy here. And also what doesn't help Iowa is that Fran McCaffrey, I don't think villain is the right word, but he is a character, so to speak, right? And his temper has flared up at Breslin Center, and there's nothing the Breslin Center crowd loves more than when a coach's temper flares up. They'll get on him. That just parlays to more energy the rest of the game. So, yeah, I mean, Iowa's always a fun team to have come in because also, like you mentioned earlier, it's been really good for Michigan State to play Iowa at Breslin Center lately. So hopefully that old streak can continue here. I wouldn't hate to see that on my side of the microphone, at least.
Well, and you can understand, and I don't have big expectations coming into this one. We'll see the point spread will
Sure.
come out on FanDuel either later today or tomorrow, obviously before the game. They have it right now, 4-point at Ken Pomeroy, which is usually pretty
Gotcha.
close to what we'll see with those FanDuel numbers. I'll tell you, I'll be laying the points with Sparty, and we'll kind of break things down a little bit
Okay.
more, I know, as we continue. Speaking of the student section, though, there's a chance Patrick McCaffrey is going to play. We'll talk about that a little bit more also coming up here, but as it pertains to that, kind of a delicate situation here. Yeah,
Totally.
I'm going to guess student sections of past would have been all over something like this. A guy taking a break with taking a mental pause. But in today's environment and the way that kids are today, I wonder what it's going to be like. Do you anticipate anything coming from the Izzone if Patrick does play?
I don't think so. And if it does, it'll be, 2 or 3 bad actors, I'm sure. But it is more than a game. Like, it really is kind of just like a social experiment too, right? I mean, because I think it really is kind of this generation. They have grown up where mental health is more closely looked at and treated with care and respect, more importantly as well. So yeah, I don't think that it'll be a universal, 3,000 member Izzone chanting anything just horrible at him.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe 10 years ago, that is what you get, or something crazy like that. So yeah, no, I don't think so. It will be disappointing to hear if anything happens, and if it does, it's hopefully, well, no, the number's hopefully 0. But if something happens, then hopefully it's kept to a low number, and then people jump on that person. So I don't anticipate it, and it will be a little disappointed too. But yeah, it just a fascinating underlying storyline here. If Patrick does play, which we're gonna get to, as we keep saying, in a minute here. Do you want to? Should we start getting into the nitty gritty here after this short little note from FanDuel? Do you want?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Get into this. Let's get nuts here. Hey, you know what? Trent's talked about it. We're about to talk about it. It is FanDuel Sportsbook. The NFL playoffs are here. It is going to be an awesome weekend, 2 incredible games, and we are really excited about our new sports betting partner for Locked On because they are the #1 sportsbook in America. You guessed it, it's FanDuel. And if you're new to FanDuel, well, we got good news for you. They have so many great features that make betting on sports fun and easy. New customers, join today and get started with $150 in free bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Just sign up at FanDuel.com/lockedon. And FanDuel has all your favorite bets from the money line to point spread to player props. They'll even have the lines and everything that you need for Spartans versus Hawkeyes as well. Just sign up at FanDuel.com/lockedoncollege. And plus, you can even combine your bets for a chance to win a bigger payout with same game parlay. It's all in an app that's safe, secure, super easy to use, and you get paid quick. You're not sitting around for days at a time wondering when the money's going to come. Not with FanDuel. So football fans, don't miss out. Place your first $5 bet to get $150 in free bets, win or lose, at FanDuel.com/lockedoncollege. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NFL. You know what? I won't do this for a 4th time. Bring up Patrick McCaffrey's name and say, we'll get to it in a little bit. But he has missed some time, just like we've talked about. If he does play tomorrow, it is going to be a game time decision based on all the reports that I've heard. What does he add to this team that has been missing And it is interesting because even when he was missing, Iowa banged out a few good wins here. So really, what is it going to be like if he joins the team?
You know, it's really interesting because Iowa, as soon as he put the pause, they went on that 4-game winning streak.
Right.
His last game out
Yeah.
there was a loss to Penn State. I was down 20 at the half, came roaring back, had a chance late in the game. But there's something with Patrick that you could tell was off. And talking to guys that are on the beat, the newspaper guys, the site publishers, those kind of places, and they said knowing Patrick for as long as it has. I mean, you also remember guys knew him as a young kid and growing up,
Mhm.
obviously, the Iowa program as a middle schooler and as a high schooler. So they've known him incredibly well, and they could just tell something was off with him. And he didn't
Okay.
feel right, didn't look right. And you could see just physically. So this is a young man that has had a ton that has happened starting back in high school when not only cancer and have to go through thyroid treatment because of that, that's a huge component in dealing with that throughout his career. But he also, during that time, met a youngster at the same time as him, same age as him, that passed away. One of his high school
Gotcha.
classmates, a guy that came incredibly close going through that, and he lost him during the same time as he was battling cancer and lost a friend to it. So he's had a lot on his plate. Yeah, did he grow up in a privileged background and have your dad be a basketball coach? Absolutely, but that doesn't mean that there hasn't been things. And one
Yeah.
thing that I've kind of talked about and speculated about, you think about him, and every day you wake up and you feel a little bit off, or you got something going on physically. You're just not feeling right. Well, for us, like I got a little bug. For him, you're thinking is it back? And that kind of thing,
Sure.
I'm sure,
Yeah.
just has to weigh on all kinds of cancer survivors, not just Tim, but I'm sure that's a huge component of it too. The pressure of being the coach's kid and the pressure of maybe not stepping up and developing as much as a lot of people hope for.
Mhm.
Patrick is an incredibly gifted offensive player, and he can get buckets at times. In the loss last year in the NCAA tournament to Richmond, he was the only guy in the second half that was able to do much of anything. He's a skilled offensive player, but there are times that you just wish that the basketball IQ would kind of follow with what you saw with the talent. It feels like for a coach's kid, the basketball IQ doesn't always marry with what he is out there on the basketball floor. He wasn't playing well, wasn't playing up to his capabilities. I'm sure that's a part of it. But again, this is a
Yeah.
lot of conjecture and speculation about him. Ultimately, for people that are close to the program and hearing from Fram yesterday talk about his son and his player on the team, it sounds like that he's getting back in the right spot. Could it be something? Another part is because of what he's had to do and continues to do with cancer treatments and checkups. You wonder, if there is something that he is taking, for anxiety issues. How does that marry with cancer treatment, things like that he's had to do in
Yeah.
the past. So there's just so many layers to this. It's different than what we've seen in the past and some different players that have done this. And that's why it makes it certainly an interesting story to talk about, but one that we just don't have a ton of answers about right now.
And safe to say, the star of your team right now, probably Chris Murray.
Oh
Oh,
yeah.
that's crazy. And another Murray is having a
Yeah.
great season for Iowa. Is he a carbon copy of his brother Keegan that was drafted in the top 3 in last year's draft? Or is there a little difference with that game that you could see so far this season?
Well, the first thing is they are mirror images, literally, because Keegan right-handed, Chris left-handed. So you got that component. He
There
is
we
a
go.
lefty. He doesn't have the same inside game that Keegan had. He's
Okay.
not the same kind of guy that's going to go on the block and consistently be able to get you points. He'll go in there from time to time. He's better off the dribble. He's a better shooter, at least at this point, than Keegan was. Now, looking at Keegan in the NBA, he's the second fastest player to 100 3-pointers in his career, behind only Luka Doncic. Not bad company to keep there
Not bad.
in his
Yeah.
rookie season. So he has always been more of a little bit more of an outside guy as compared to Keegan when they were growing up, playing both in youth and up through high school. He was a point guard at times. He would handle the ball a lot more. So a little better off the dribble, not as much inside that we get, but he can score in a big time ways. And much like Keegan, he's just so smooth. I mean, so
Yeah.
effortless out there that, boy, you look up and he's got 24 and 8. It just doesn't feel like it. And that's what you get out of him. But you'll see him hit shots. He'll be out there, stepping out there. And since he was lost, and speaking of that Eastern Illinois game earlier, he was out that game as he had sustained an injury and dealing with plantar fasciitis that continues to this day. But, with that, you're going to see a guy that is going to be consistent, fun to watch. He'll get in there. He does a little bit of everything, and he's important because if Chris Murray isn't playing well, frankly, this Iowa basketball team really struggles. He is that important to what they do.
Okay. And Michigan State in the last few games has struggled in the paint. They face a smattering of teams with anywhere from elite big men to pretty good big men, but even if you're pretty good, that's enough to beat up Michigan State in the post. So with that said, What is your post game like? Are we getting some break here with the Hawkeyes, or do you guys have someone in the paint that's just a game wrecker that is going to make us all roll our eyes again?
It very well could happen because Philip Rebraca has completely blossomed this year. So
Great.
Rebraca's a guy, came in last year. They were looking for help, and they went to the transfer portal, got him from North Dakota. He was playing up there in the Summit League, and he was a decent player. His dad played in the NBA, but you looked at him. I think he averaged like 6-6 last year. He was a starter
Okay.
for the team, not a real big team by any means, but limited offensively. Only 6'9", had to give up a lot, both in size, both height-wise and weight-wise to some guys, as we know, in the Big Ten. But this year, he has transformed into a completely different player. He's hitting players inside. He's great going over his left shoulder with a little baby hook over the right hand. He's been dominant at times this season. Didn't play great against Ohio State. I don't anticipate back-to-back bad games from Rebraca. He's just come to that level, anticipate game in and game out. He's going to be there. But if he gets in foul trouble, look out. There is much behind him. Josh Gundolay,
Gotcha.
big buddy. He's a London-based guy, comes over. He played prep school. He is a sophomore. He's a fan favorite. He gets in there. He can only play about 2 minutes at a time because he's big and heavy. But he'll go up there and he'll push people around and he'll maybe get in there. Well, he's been out for the last couple of weeks with a knee injury. The only other big on the roster is a young man named Riley Mulvey, 6'11" from New York. In fact, went to Iowa last year, was supposed to be his senior year of high school, decided to enroll early because they needed some help inside. Didn't play a ton, hasn't played a ton, really didn't develop the way that a lot of people thought this summer. But because of Gundolay has been out, he's played spot minutes starting in the Indiana game, 2 minutes a half, something like that, 2-3 minutes. And he's looked competent at times. He's long, he can run, he can dunk, and he has a little physicality to him. He's a guy that you hope for ultimately, by a senior year maybe develops, but he's been somewhat of a bright spot here over the last couple of weeks as he's seen a little bit. Here's the other thing. Speaking of Rebraca, and as good as he is, if he gets in foul trouble, he will not play. Fran McCaffrey, more than any coach in college basketball, he has a hard 2-foul rule. You look at 2-foul participation at Ken Pomeroy's numbers every year. I was at the bottom of it. Hard and fast. I've had Fran on my radio show before. I pressed him on it. He's giving me the answer. I completely disagree with his response, but that is something. So I would guess right away, Michigan State, that's got to be part of the game plan. If we can do something inside, get Rebraca in foul trouble, we know, and this is going to be a donut team. They're going to be playing without a middle because Mulvey can't play 8-12 minutes in a first half, anything like that. You don't anticipate. I would anticipate that's going to be part early on trying to get Rebraca in foul trouble.
I know that State fans are gritting their teeth right now because, we just came off a game where A.J. Hogarth missed the last 8 minutes of the first half because, you had 2 fouls, and of course...
Izzo does it too, huh?
Oh, Trent, he does it. He does it really well. Yeah, so we know all too well about the 2 fouls in the first half, and you're out of here business. Last question I have before we flip the script, and you asked me about my Spartans here, but there's something you can always count on with Iowa, and it's great offense. They're really good in a track meet, and usually pretty bad defense. No offense. But last year, the Iowa defense was actually respectable. It was fine. So where are we this year? Is it still at the respectable levels? Is it back to the old ways of we don't really do a whole lot on defense? Or what are we looking at for Iowa's defense?
They have really regressed back this year. They've taken a big step back from what they were. In fact, you got to go back to the last time that they weren't an NCAA tournament team as bad defensively as they are. So we're talking about going back now 6 years when things really cratered. It was a young team, didn't measure up defensively. They got beat by Louisiana Lafayette and South Dakota State in the non-conference. It was a bad year, and it was defense more than anything. This year, it's not at that level, but it's as bad as it's been there. Couple of reasons for that. You look at some of the things that they've done. They switch man and zone. They do that all the time. And something that Fran's team don't have a specific thing that they do increasingly a ton of outside of do like to bring pressure, a lot of 3/4 court pressure that they'll do. But they have been so inconsistent in the backcourt. Their starting guards, both Ulis and Tony Perkins, 2 guys that are known more as defenders. They just haven't been very good on that end of the floor. Yeah, they'll get a couple of steals and do things like that, but just on the ball, they have not been the same kind of defender that you'd anticipate. So you have that component of it. Same thing inside, because you're basically playing with just one big guy in Rebraca. There's lots of times guy gets in the paint, he's going to lay off. He's not going to attack at him. He's not going to go for the block shot, just knowing that he has to stay out of foul trouble. It's concerning right now. Ohio State did whatever they wanted in the second half of the game on Saturday. They were hitting shots from all over the place, getting to the paint when they wanted, wide open 3-pointers. So this is going to be one you're looking to get right. and I'm sure there's a lot of fan bases that feel this way. Boy, why does this team always hit shots against us? Well, Iowa fans feel
Uh-huh.
that a whole lot. This goes way back to the day of Dr. Tom Davis. I mean, UC
Gotcha.
Riverside, they played them one time. They had 23 3-pointers back when they were a D2 school, and
Oh,
Iowa
no.
lost to them out there as a top 10 team. Like they're just always those moments. So whoever your guy that's struggling the most, and I'll ask you that when we come back here, whoever's struggling the most, probably going to have a good night at the Hawkeye D.
Gotcha. Fair enough. Well, hey, we'll take it. We'll always take a good night shooting at our own barn as well. So is it time to put me on the hot seat and grill me about
It is.
the Michigan State Spartans here? Sweet. Let's get it popping.
Let's flip it over here. All right. So, Matt, we talked about just an overview of this team. Feeling okay. Everyone's feeling okay
Yeah,
at this
we're fine.
time. So,
Yeah.
what is the number one concern, though, as you look at this Michigan State basketball team at this moment?
Yeah, it has to be the center position. No question about it. Mady Sissoko started this year, his junior year. This is his third year at Michigan State. Came in as a top 40 recruit, but started this year against Drew Timme and Oscar Tshiebwe and put up insane numbers and just looked good doing it as well. He even had a fast break where he hit a Euro step, and I started thinking, am I about to black out right now? Like, is this a lottery pick all of a sudden? He has regressed since. Those two games have been a catfishing of some sort. It has not been good. In the last, I believe, 11 games, he has one game where he has scored above 7 points. He's not getting, he is getting worked a little bit too much on post defense. And then behind him, it's not a lot. It's two freshmen, one former top 60 recruit in Jackson Kohler, who's actually had really good back-to-back games after kind of a slow start to his freshman year, but he's never going to be mistaken for this defensive stalwart, right? And the other guy, Carson Cooper, he was supposed to redshirt this year. He was on IMG Academy's B team. But since then, we only have two centers. It's like, hey, we need a guy with four limbs to play here. You're not redshirting. You're actually going to play a few minutes here and there. And he's been decent, but that's decent against his expectation of, well, not playing it all this year. So it has to be what is going on inside the paint. More so defensively, rebounding can be an issue sometimes. Rutgers just had 18 offensive rebounds last week against Michigan State. Luckily, shot 54% from three, so it didn't matter. But yeah, defensively and rebounding in the post is a concern. And offensively, too, when Mady Sissoko's in, because he's not really an offensive threat either. So it's not that great in the paint for Michigan State.
So you got that part. We talked a little bit also about the injuries. You mentioned Malik Hall. If he's able to go, and even in a limited capacity, how does that make this Michigan State team different? What is it about him that makes this team better? What does he do that kind of complements everything they do?
Yeah, it's a guy that you could throw it into the post and he can go get you a bucket. He has a lot of man-sized baskets so far this season for Michigan State when they need him, when they need someone to take over a game in the post, because without him, there's no one really in the post that can just go in and get an easy two. Like, yeah, sure, we've seen AJ Hoggard do it, bodies his way in there, cuts through the lane, gets a layup, or, maybe he'll have a little bit of a post move sort of thing. But you are missing that post player without Malik Hall, because it's not Joey Hauser. While Joey does have like a decent post game, he gets more of his damage done outside the arc. And yes, while Jackson Kohler has had a good 2-game stretch, still is a little bit of a small sample size here for the kid. And then Mady Sissoko, just like we talked about, it's not a guy I'm trusting to go get us 2 points here. So that's really it, is just, that old reliable, old faithful down there on the low block in Mady Sissoko, or in Malik Hall, and then just his veteran presence as well, which Tom Izzo just will not stop talking about in press conferences.
So another thing that jumped out to me when I was looking at some numbers here is defensively. Good.
Yeah.
Not elite. So
yeah,
Izzo, along with Bo Ryan, have ruined Big Ten basketball. Sorry, they have. With the clutch and grab and the garbage style and hold, and they can't call every foul.
Sure.
And I hate it. It's not basketball, but hey, it's been very successful throughout the years. And
it's winning. Yeah.
Yes. So when you look at this Michigan State team defensively, though, they'll do that. They'll clutch, they'll grab, they'll hold, they'll play that garbage style, and the refs swallow their whistle. Probably going to be another 30-point victory for Sparty here. But how defensively is this team looked at in, and do you see the same thing, that the metrics kind of measure up that this team isn't quite the same as some of the past Michigan State defensive teams?
I think that's fair. Yeah, I think it's fair, especially, not to beat a dead horse, but in the post as well. I don't think it'll ever be great in the post, but around the perimeter, you really like what you're seeing if you're a Michigan State fan. Like AJ Hoggard, okay, that's a solid defender. Tyson Walker, This man has black belt karate hands. I mean, he is a great defender. Well undersized, 6 feet or maybe 6'1". One of the best defenders you'll find in the Big Ten. Then Jaden Akins, too, can more than hold his own on the perimeter there. So as far as guard and wing players go, you're feeling really good about that for your starters. Now, it's where the bench comes in. Guys like Pierre Brooks, he often gets lost out there on defense. But Traywon Holloman, a freshman, good rangy wingspan, looking pretty good as well. But yes, it is the 4 and 5 position, especially with Malik Hall out, or even now when Malik Hall's in, because you're really wondering, are you getting 80% Malik Hall? Because that's still a solid defender, but it's not, what his true potential is. Joey Hauser, he's been having flashes at defense, but again, he's never going to be mistaken for someone that's going to put you in a straitjacket by any means. So I hear that they're good numbers, not great. That sounds about right, because it's run around the perimeter and just in the post is kind of how I grade it.
One other guy I wanted to get your perspective on, and that's AJ Hoggard, a guy that has played 3 times in his career against Iowa. So I've seen, I've watched a lot more than just the 3 games against Iowa, but he has played poorly in all 3 of those games. He has not been very good. Okay. And then, watch him at other times. I'm like, well, this is a completely different guy. So what is his play now in his junior campaign? What have you seen improvements from him? And we're hoping that it makes it 4 straight games. He struggles with Iowa against here, but how he's developed this season.
Yeah, I think he's been great. We just had Graham Couch, he's a columnist at Atlanta State Journal on, and we just had the debate, like, does he have it? Has he made that leap of being one of these great Michigan State point guards? And he's either there or right on the cusp of it, because it was not a great start to his senior season, and then he got benched after a 4 turnover game. He had this meeting with Izzo, closed doors meeting that we've heard bits and pieces of, and he has emerged as a better player, just both skill-wise and leadership-wise as well. So he is also the player too when Michigan State is in trouble. Instead of the last 2 years where everyone's just kind of looking around each other being like, I'm not going to do it. Are you going to do it? No, I'm not going to. Are you going to? AJ takes the game under his wing and says, everyone relax, fine, I'll just do it. And then more times than not, he has been getting it done. He has shown up in big spots, whether it's the game as a whole, like the road game at Penn State, absolutely smashing it in the lines, or just big spots within games, like the end of the Michigan game, for example. This is a leader of the team, both with his style of play and style of leadership. What has been interesting is his shooting. He is shooting more threes. He's not elite by any stretch of the imagination, but there are some games where he can hit a big 3. And I think 3 times this season he's hit multiple threes in the game. But it's very hit and miss here from what his game is beyond the arc. But I think it's been a really solid season. Great season, really, for AJ Hoggard.
My final thing here, I am a daily sports wager, have been for a very long time.
Ooh, okay.
We've had things, and very excited about our new partnership with FanDuel. So
absolutely.
I was taking a look at some numbers. I'm not a big believer in this Big Ten come NCAA tournament time. I am going to be selling Purdue. There's no doubt about it. I'm probably going to have them out early. Just that guard play concerns me so much, and one Edey, foul performance for him, and it's going to be trouble. But I was looking at the odds to make the Final Four. Like, there's not a national champion, I don't think, in the Big Ten this year. It's going to be a struggle for many to get to the Sweet 16, even if we get 8, 9, 10 teams in the tournament. But I'm looking at your Spartans. 25-1 to make the Final Four. Again, not win the whole thing, just get there. Izzo and March, we know the storylines. I was there in Minneapolis covering the Final Four when they were there a couple of years back. It was a lot of fun. I know this program and the way that it is. Hey, I made a lot of dumb bets in my day. But
same. Oh, yeah.
25-1 on FanDuel right now. Hey, I got a $10 free bet just sitting there winking at me. I think I'm putting it on Sparty.
I mean, this is going to be our 3rd straight episode of Locked On, talking about, can this Michigan State team make a Final Four run, which is totally normal to do after you just lost by double digits on the road. Naturally, that funnels right into, hey, get ready for a March run talk. But we did get a listener question, like, how far can this team go with Mady Sissoko playing the way he is? My thing is with Malik Hall, if you get him back, even if it's 80 or 90%, you can deploy that small ball lineup. You have AJ Hoggard at the point, Tyson Walker, Jaden Akins, Joey Hauser, Malik Hall all around him. That's 4 3-point shooters that you're surrounding with AJ Hoggard. And we just saw Villanova just play 6 guys for an entire tournament and make a Final Four. They play good wing defense. They can shoot. They are veteran-led. And they're coached by Tom Izzo, too. And they get to the Final Four every year. No one expects them to. So do I think right now, like gun to head, do I think? No, of course not. It's never likely a team's going to make a Final Four. But at 25-1, and with the way Michigan State is built, I swear I don't have green stained glasses. I have only put Michigan State in my Final Four once in my entire life. It was 2015 when they were a 7 seed. It wasn't even one of the years where they were 1 or a 2 seed. It was that year, and it worked out. I might be doing it again. I got to see the matchups, of course, when the brackets drop, but like, I don't hate that 25-1. This isn't a gambling segment, Trent. This is a financial advice segment right now. We're going to put people on retirement right now. Oh man, I love it. Third time in a row you got me on this conversation. Oh, this is great. Love it.
It's a good there. And well, for Hawkeye fans, yes, the numbers are also available for Iowa to make the Final Four. It's just 35-1. I mean, for me to really make a substantial wager, not throwing $10 on it, not putting pizza money on it, something like that, to really put something down, you'd probably have to give me, well, they haven't been since the year I was born. I'm 42. Okay. The year I was born was the last time Iowa made a Final Four in 1980. And they've had some good teams, but it's been a long stretch. 75-1, 80-1, probably something in that range that I'd even be tempted to put something substantial down. So that's where we are right now. I think it's one of the best bets on the board. I have a ton in my portfolio for college basketball already this season in the futures market. And I think I'm adding a little more on FanDuel right now. $10 on Sparty with my free bet to win $250. Doesn't feel bad to me.
You could use something with 250. Yeah, that plays. Yeah. Let's go. That's what I'm talking about. Well, hey, Trent, this has been awesome, man. I really do appreciate all these crossover episodes and the one with Trent Condon of Locked On Hawkeyes. Not any different. This is awesome. Hope you and all Hawkeye fans kind of enjoy Thursday. Not like totally enjoy it to the point where you guys win, but yeah. That's the spirit. There you go. Love the confidence there. Last time I had talked to a host with this little confidence in their team was Locked On Hoosiers. That's where I talked with Jacob Rude before the football game. MSU blew a 17-point lead at home to lose to the Hoosiers. So
I was on Sparty then. I remember it well.
Yeah, same. Yeah, I know. I remember it well too, Trent. So, hey, we'll hopefully find a good win here in basketball. But hey, until then, Locked On Spartans, you guys know where to find us. Locked On Spartans over there. Locked On Hawkeyes, your teams every single day. Now go enjoy the rest of your day, everyone. Woo!